So today I'm going to compare some open source, free, high resolution satellite imagery that you can use to examine archaeological sites. So what we can see here is a fairly standard quantum GIS screen, which anyone who uses quantum GIS will be familiar with. It's not a particularly dynamic map I've made at the moment. It just contains a series of satellite imagery that I've accessed via the Quick Map Services plugin. Now, you can see that the area we're looking at is part of the Theban necropolis. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see it's actually the area of Dra Abu el-Naga. We have Deir el-Bahri here, the Valley of the Kings here, Ramesseum down there. So it's the northern end of the Theban necropolis. And this is how it appears in Bing Maps satellite imagery. So Bing satellite imagery is owned by Microsoft, which is relevant if you need to reference them in any way. So you can see that we have here quite a good satellite image. You can quite clearly see a number of tomb shafts over here in this pockmarked surface. We can also see the larger features. So this is some of the German Archaeological Institute's concession up here, some of the tombs. Down here we've got the GeoEye project excavations at TT11 and some more of the larger Theban tombs you can see. This is the Penn State excavations way back when, and this is where the village has been demolished that was formerly on top of some of the tombs. So if we move back in now, unfortunately you can see that when we start to zoom in a little bit more, it becomes a little bit less clear and somewhat more blurry. This is not a terribly zoomed in image at the moment. We're only at 1 to 1400 odd, and you can already see I'm starting to lose definition. I'm starting to look a little bit fuzzy, indeed over here as well. And that also means it's quite difficult to tell what resolution the original image was at. I would guess probably something around 50 or 60 centimeter resolution. It's actually quite difficult to tell with these free images what their metadata is. That is, what satellite took them, what resolution they're at, when they were taken, etc., etc. You might have to go to other pages, or you might not be able to determine that at all. So if we turn on the Google satellite image, so this is what you would get if you open Google Earth. Based on opening Google Earth, I can actually tell you it was taken in November 2020, so it's a very recent image. And you can see that instead of the demolished rubble from the houses, we actually have quite a lot of tombs in this area. So this is the area to the west of the GeoEye project's concession, and you can see that there's quite a lot of tombs being exposed and cleaned up for research and excavation in this area where there were formerly houses. And if we zoom right in again, you'll see that even when we zoom in a bit further, the features actually remain quite sharp and quite clear. So I would have said that this one is a slightly better image. It's probably higher resolution. It may be as good as 30 centimeters, but it's certainly better resolution than the previous image we saw from Bing satellite imagery. And it also may have been filtered or pan sharpened in a way that enhances it. You can very clearly see all these little tomb shafts here that the GeoEye project have uncovered, as well as the clear walls. This is a much better image at this sort of scale than the Bing satellite. If we just turn that off and turn it back onto Bing satellite, you can see the difference there very clearly. Now, if we try the ESRI satellite, so this is what you'll get if you turn on ArcGIS and open up the World Imagery Base Mapping. I don't think this is quite as recent as the Google Maps image. There's somewhat less perhaps being exposed down here, but I actually find the contrast on this rather preferable. It's less glary and easier to look at, which when you're doing a lot of GIS or satellite imagery work does genuinely matter. You can see we've still got the tombs that have been exposed over here, so it is more recent than the Bing Maps image. Another feature of these programs, which it's worth remembering, is that you only get the really high resolution stuff when you zoom in. So as you can see, this is clearly a somewhat different satellite image when we've zoomed out to this level compared to if I zoom right back in. That's quite significant because it means that you do have to go and look specifically at the site you're interested in before you can tell whether the image is going to be useful to you or not. Now, if we zoom in again over here, you can very clearly see that we have the same types of shafts in the forecourt of the Djibouti team. We're getting some very clear images of the DAIK concession up here. ArcGIS ESRI maps won't zoom in below 1 to 1250, but nevertheless, this gives us a great deal of information. If we compare it to the others now, you can see again we've got the same clear sharpness we had with Google, but it's actually somewhat sharper than Google was at this level. So if we turn back, you can see it's sharper, it's a bit more relaxing on the eyes, there's less glare, and the features are clearer. Okay, that's the Google. If we go back to the Bing, you can see there really is quite a substantial difference. Bing is really quite blurry and unsharpened at this level, probably because it's lower resolution, to be honest. But if we zip back to ESRI, we see that's the difference very clearly. So for my money, the best of the three is the ESRI ArcGIS satellite imagery. Now, if you use this inside ArcGIS, you'll get the full functionality of it. You can zoom right in, and it will also do things like create the watermark with the sources that you would get on a Google Earth image that you can use when you export maps for publication and websites and things like that. You won't get that in QGIS. You will have to add your own citations, which can be a little bit of a pest. But nevertheless, QGIS offers us a very good way of comparing these three: Bing, Google, ESRI.